What is consumption function? During the 1930s, an economist named J.M. Keynes created a model which is now called the simple Keynesian model. As the demand for a good depends on its price, similarly, consumption of a community depends on the level of their income. In other words, consumption is a function of income. The consumption function relates the amount of consumption to the level of income. When income of a community rises, the consumption also rises. There are four types of consumption hypotheses: relative, absolute, permanent, and life cycle. First of all, there is this absolute income. One of the most and well-known theories is the Keynesian theory offered by J.M. Keynes. This theory states that consumption is a function of current disposable income. He also said that income increases, consumption also tends to increase, however, not in the same proportion as the income, because a part of the increment in income is saved. This is also called Keynes' psychological law. According to Keynes, all of the factors it is the current disposable income that determines the consumption of an individual or a society. More income a person is earning, greater will be their consumption expenditure. In other words, rich people tend to have a higher consumption expenditure than the poor. Moving on to the relative income, this theory was developed by James Dewsbury. The relative income hypothesis states that individuals' attitude to consumption and saving is dictated more by his income in relation to others than by abstract standard of living. The percentage of income consumed by an individual depends on his percentile position within the income distribution. Secondly, this hypothesis tells us that the present consumption is not influenced by merely present levels of absolute and relative income, but also levels of consumption attained by the previous period. It is difficult for a family to reduce a level of consumption once attained. The aggregate ratio of consumption to income is assumed to depend on level of present income relative to past peak income. Moving on to the life cycle hypothesis was developed by Franco Modigliani in 1957. The theory states that individual seeks to smooth consumption over the course of a lifetime, that is, borrowing in the times of low income and high consumption, and vice versa. Individuals from the age of 20 to 65, as a student, it is rational to borrow fund education. Then, during your work life, you pay off all those student debts and begin to save for the retirement. And this saving allows you to maintain similar level of income after your retirement. This suggests wealth and build up in working age, but then falls in retirement. Moving on to the permanent income, this theory of consumption was presented by a Nobel Prize winning American economist Milton Friedman in the year 1957. The permanent income hypothesis is theory of consumer spending, stating that people will spend money at a level consistent with their expected long-term average income. The level of expected long-term income then becomes thought of as level of permanent income that can be safely spent. The permanent income hypothesis is a theory of consumer spending, stating that people will spend money at a level of consistent with their expected long-term average income. The level of expected long-term income then becomes thought of as level of permanent income that can be safely spent. A worker will save only if his or her current income is higher than anticipated level of permanent income in order to guard against future declines in income. Thank you.